Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out at Morrison's Gym with Joe Ham Jr. Trainer here obviously under your father, Joe Ham Sr., who refuses to do interviews. He's camera shy, I think it's fair to say, but a great trainer nonetheless, boxing stalwart. Just tell us first of all, you've been a pro for a while now, you're obviously a bit of a standout in the amateurs. You've only had one defeat as a pro in 16 fights? And that was against Tyrone McCullagh. You dropped him early on, but kind of fight seemed to go away from you a bit in the middle rounds. How do you reflect back on that now? What lessons have you learned from it?
The worst thing I could have done was put him down, because then I just started to load up because I knew I could hit him with a shot, and I just get carried away too much by just looking for one shot rather than stick to what I'd been working on. And by the end of it, the fight was finished. But then now I've learned you can't just, when you hit somebody, you've got to try stick to your boxing. You can't just look up for the one punch. It's not going to happen. So, but it was good. Didn't take much out. It's not as if it was like a bad defeat where I get knocked out or battered or anything like that. So it wasn't really points lost, close fight. But if you never take the opportunities, you would never know. So when we get presented, we go to Belfast. We didn't even think about it. It was just sound, no bother, cool. So now that was that. So now I'm back in, got a win, and now I'm back looking to go for the British. That's what I'm at now.
Does it further soften the blow, the fact that he's been predicted to achieve big things? He's world rated, I think, by the WBO as well. So does that kind of make it even easier to take, the fact that he's been kind of said to go on to bigger and better?
He's always known he was a good boy. He's more awkward. You ask anybody who's ever been in the ring with him, doesn't he look brilliant on the eye? But see, when you're in front of him, he's some slippery, honestly. But he obviously is good, because he beat Kennedy, then he beat some. He's a good boy. You don't just. He won a bronze medal in the Europeans as an amateur. You don't get the aim handed away to you if you're not good. You know what I mean? So fair play to him. But that's in the past. There's no point in reflecting on the loss too much. It is what it is. It was a close points loss. Fair play to him. Now I just got to move on with my career. He goes a different route.
You're fighting next in Glasgow on May the 31st. That's more of a ticking over exercise before you're looking to be in contention for the British title. You were nominated for a final eliminator recently against Michael Ramabeletsa, I believe. He has since, we don't know why, but he's since been withdrawn from that contest by the board directly. I'm not going to speculate as to why that might be, but there was also a recent eliminator, not a final eliminator, won by Jason Cunningham over Josh Kennedy last weekend. So what's your understanding, we were talking about this off camera, of where that leaves you in the pecking order?
Well, I think it still leaves me. I'm not sure, but we were in LA. We were in a wild card, and I came out of the wild card, and we'd got a notification from the board saying you've been put forward with eliminator from Leicester. So it was good news. Then literally we come back, and a week later, we got an email again said he's been withdrawn. As you say, I don't know, it is what it is. But then Cunningham and Kennedy is eliminator. So it's either I get a straight shot at Foster. He's fighting Ashley Lane this weekend, or else I do a final eliminator with Jason Cunningham. But either way, Foster's just defended it this weekend, so it's not going to happen to September, October anyway. So either or, whether it's a final eliminator or whether it's a straight shot, by the time it comes, by the new season, I'll be ready. I don't really mind who I get.
What do you make of those two guys? I know you've sparred Cunningham before. Foster come from a kickboxing background, so a bit more of an unknown quantity. What do you make of those two guys?
Yeah, Foster looks tidy, looks a very nice boxer. When he boxed against Josh Greer, he handled himself. Maybe he was I think he got brought in by thinking it was an easier fight. Nobody really knew anything about him. Then he turned out to be very good, and he's held himself since then. He signed with Frank Warren, so he's obviously seen a bit in him. And then Jason is one of the people in Britain fight anybody. It's tough as anything, and we've done sparred him a few times, nothing but respect. Got on quite well, it was good sparring, but you've got to put that aside if it comes to eliminator. So either or, I don't mind.
When was it that you spent some time at the wild card, and just tell us how that came about?
Well, that year there was the 4th year in a row we've been. It's fantastic. It's just 1 year we just chanced our arm, literally. We turned up to the very first year. We just turned up, didn't know anybody, and happened to bump into Liam Smith. And I went to the Commonwealth Games. He's brought Callum and Derry, so we kind of knew who he was. So he kind of introduced us to Liam Vaughan and Freddie Roach, and it kind of went from that. And we had a spar with Chris Avalos first day. We'd done really well, and then since that we got invited back. And then every year we've just turned up, and we've got a relationship with the guys who are in the gym. And every year we've been welcomed, and they always sort us with sparring, and it's the best sparring they can get. It's the jungle over there. There's nothing. There's no feeling out process. Everybody just wants to take your head off, which is brilliant.
Just tell us, obviously, obvious next question, but Who are some of the kind of names that you've sparred while you've been over there over the past few years?
I've done a lot with the first year. I've done a lot with Avalos, and I sparred last year. And this year I sparred with a boy who's called Azat Hovhannisyan. I'm not sure, but he boxed Ray Vargas for the WBC world title and gave him a close fight. Very good, a good Armenian. And then
Hovhannisyan, is it?
Hovhannisyan, yeah. So I sparred him the last 3 years I've been to the wild card. I've sparred him, and it's hanging in the last 2 years. There's an up and coming American bantamweight. He's very, very good. He's called Joshua Greer. He's very good. He's just signed with Top Rank.
Yeah, he was good amateur, wasn't he, as well?
So it's like they're not really necessarily big names, but since we've come back, you see them fighting on Top Rank, Showtime and stuff, and they're good boys. And we sparred with an Armenian kid, just that one there. He was a featherweight, but he just won a WBC, one of the titles on the Canelo Jacobs undercard. He was very good as well. So you just don't know. You just turn up and you've got all these different boys, but our biggest majority of them are still Europeans.
Is it a good measuring stick for you that you fight some of the same guys year after year because you can see how much you've improved?
Yeah, 100%. Well, Azat, the first year we sparred him and it was fine. Then the second year was the same. He's good. He's quite handy, punch, but he's nothing spectacular. Then as soon as we come back, he got his shot against Vargas, and Vargas is massive for a super bantamweight. And Azat, he gave him hell, so he did, and it was a close fight. Since then he's had 2 other good wins, but I think it's hard for him to match because he's not he's Armenian, ticket sale in America. You're always going to get put back to an opponent at some stage. But I wouldn't like to fight him without his gloves on because he can bench. He's quite handy, but to see what happens with him, he's a good thing. But that Joshua Greer, he's good bantamweight, so I think he'll do well. I think he'll go far.
What does it tell you about where you are? Because obviously you're holding your own in sparring with Azat. Azat then goes on and gives hell to a world champion. So it must tell you you're not too far away from that level.
Yeah, definitely. I says that's where you get found out. When you get hit in there, you can either go 2 ways. You can either shy away or you can find away. And as soon as you show any sign of weakness when you were over there, you get found out. But ever since then, I've never been. I thought I've held my own with every person's there. We sparred a couple of rounds with Scott Quigg as well that time there, and he was a good stick. We sparred. I started him years ago in Gallagher's gym, so he knows. And he kind of introduced us some people in there.
Like a horrible kind of matchmaker.
Yeah, that's what it says, but he's good. So he was telling us different people about these people who spars now, telling us they're fine. Then the week we left, he got injured, sparring with that Armenian featherweight who was on the Canelo card. That's who he got his bicep tore against on his thing. But it's good. It's the sparring over there is fantastic. But since over the years we've been back, it's starting to just be more and more Eastern Europeans because Berenchik, who was fighting Josh at the weekend, was there, and Victor Posta was there as well, and there's loads of just different Ukrainians, Russians, and there's not so many Americans. It's all Eastern European bloc, but they're all brilliant.
Just before I let you go, you obviously had the defeat to McCullagh, which was a low point, but then I believe a month later you had a very high point in your personal life. Just tell us a little bit about that, because I've seen it on your Twitter.
I lost to McCullagh, but I'd always planned to propose to my girlfriend in New York. So once I'd done that, I had something else to look forward to, even though it bothered me for weeks. But I just had to put boxing's boxing. There's more to life. So I proposed in New York. So I was more nervous for that than I was for any fight or any opponent in the world. That was the most nervous-wracking thing I've ever done.
It was actually at Central Park.
It was in Central Park, but when we were in the hotel, the ring was in my pocket, and I'd been emailing the hotel to upgrade our room and stuff. And when we got to the desk, the woman behind the desk asked me if I was planning a proposal.
What, in front of her?
Luckily she was on her phone to her mum, so she didn't really hear it. But you can imagine my shock when she said that. I was like, no. But then I ended up working out perfect. And she said she said yeah. So yeah, she said yeah. So that's what planning the now, just planning, getting a house and planning a wedding. Then, but everything's coming round. Everything focuses on boxing first. You know what I mean? Because if there's a wedding and I get offered a British title shot, I know what I'm doing. I'm fighting for the British title.
Not even a world title shot. Take that, Heather.
Yeah, any shot. But the British title shot now is what I'm aiming for. Then the rest will come. But so we're getting married. Hopefully, I want to get married by the time I'm 30. So I've got 3 years. 3 years to do it. That's plenty.
When do you want to win a world title by?
I would win. The first things first is focus on each thing. So I want to focus on the British, and then when you get to the British, then move on. You don't want to look too far ahead. You want to aim. My plan from the start was to be a British champion. Unfortunately, with the McCullagh thing, that was the eliminator, Then he says he doesn't want for the British title, he's Irish, so it kind of defeated the purpose of why we were in the eliminator. But then, since I've had my win, I'm back in a position again, so it's just whether I get a straight shot at Foster or a final eliminator, I'll try my hardest by hopefully I get the British title by the end of this year.
And for people that want to follow you on that journey, obviously I already follow you on Twitter, or SecondsOut follows you on Twitter. Just tell people what your main social media handles are, so how they can follow you.
With boxing, it's Johan56 for Twitter. That's what I do all the thing, or just Johan on Facebook. But mostly Twitter, that's where I keep things for boxing, that's the best.
Brilliant. Alright, well we really appreciate your time and best of luck obviously on the 31st of May. Thank you.